You're watching Morning at NTV.
There's different groups in this country that often feel marginalized. They feel left out. They feel they're not a part of this cake that everybody else is enjoying. There could be religious groupings, there could be tribal groupings, different sects. And as a remedy, there's the Equal Opportunities Commission, which seeks to try and find solutions and remedies to this. But even more critically, some of the issues that are raised by these groups, are they critical? Some will say that, you see, for cabinet slots, we are more interested in people that are competent, people that qualify, not necessarily, I don't know, from this religious sect or from this tribe or that kind of thing. Tribe, religion should not be a big deal. But then on the other side, some people will tell you it's good to have some kind of balance. Let's try and understand that and more coming up on the big story. Joining me is Malole Zamina. She's from the Equal Opportunities Commission. Good morning.
Good morning to you, Joel.
Tell me, I know that there's several groups that have brought petitions to the Equal Opportunities Commission, and they say we feel left out, we feel we are not enjoying this, our good country. And one that I remember critically was immediately after the cabinet list was released. I think it was Muslims?
It was Muslims.
Yes, that did come to say, wait a minute, we feel we are not ably represented on cabinet. And severally, there will be other groupings that will say it's still on cabinet, or maybe it could be, you know, parastatal jobs and the like. And so there are people that feel, you see, for some of these jobs, be it for cabinet or otherwise, the number one qualification should be that you're competent enough, you have got the skills and everything that is needed, the wherewithal, as opposed to which religion you belong to, which tribe that you belong to, which region, and all that. How do you handle cases such as these? Okay,
the Equal Opportunities Commission, as you may be aware, is a constitutional body that is established by the Equal Opportunities Commission Act 2007, and its mandate is to eliminate discrimination and inequalities against any groups or persons on the grounds of sex, color, race, religion, name it, and even take affirmative action in favor of those groups that are marginalized on the basis of gender, age, religion, disability, and ensure that these people, you know, enjoy equal opportunities. So for such groupings to bring their petitions or their complaints to the Equal Opportunities Commission, they are not in error. They are going to an institution where they think that actually they will have to be also treated the same way like any other Ugandan. And maybe to tell you, the Equal Opportunities Commission, to do this kind of work or to effectuate the government's mandate of elimination of inequalities, has powers to receive complaints of that kind, to resolve, first of all, to investigate and resolve such complaints.
Do you really have teeth to bite when people tell you, you see, we don't have slots on cabinet and so on?
We do.
Do you call the president or seek audience with him and tell him, Your Excellency, sort this out and that kind of thing? All these different parastatals, URA, KCCA, and so on. There's this group that feels left out. Make sure you hire people.
Yes,
do you do that?
Yes, we do. Because
and do you see results?
Yes, we receive results. Because we give this feedback to whoever is responsible. Maybe it will be the president, it could be parliament, because of course we have to bring them on board and bring it to their awareness that such a thing is happening. Even if it were on an institutional level, we have to do it. Because by the time these people come to us, of course they have met all these other criteria. They have met the criteria to say that maybe they are qualified. And of course, you know that these historical imbalances, these inequalities is what government is seeking to redress. And for that matter, we have to assist government to see that we don't have any form of discrimination, or we don't have any form of inequalities. Because someone cannot just come and say that I have not been given maybe this kind of post, or have not been, when they don't qualify. Because we know the basics have to be, of course, qualification. And also when we are doing our investigations, we have to cluster those complaints along such lines to see do these people really, have they got it right in the first place before they complain? Do they have it right? By way of, because even sometimes when you look at the adverts, generally, before you look at these political, whatever, they sometimes may be marginalizing, maybe to the women or to the youth. So as an Equal Opportunities Commission, since inception, we've been trying to walk the talk, to say that we shouldn't bring in things to, to marginalize people on the basis, say, of age or any kind of attributes that are already spelled out in the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda.
I'm thinking, is Uganda's biggest problem marginalization, segregation, or ineptitude? And by that I mean incompetence. That you get to see, let me talk about cabinet as an example. When I look at cabinet, my biggest concern will not be, are there enough women, are there enough Muslims, are there enough Christians, are there enough Pentecostals, are there enough Basoga, or that kind of thing.
Yeah, sure.
No, my biggest concern will be, are we having the right people in the right places? Do they have the right competencies? Do they have the right skills? Do they have the right experiences? That's what I'm looking out. And I tend to think maybe that's Uganda's biggest problem, that we have people in various positions of influence away from cabinet and elsewhere, that have been hired, not so much because they are competent, no, but because patronage, or we went to school together, or we're in the bush together, or that kind of thing. And I'm thinking that's where the problem is. That's where our guns should be pointed at first.
You are very right when it comes to the way you perceive issues to do with people to be competent in order to serve in various positions. But then, as far as Uganda is concerned, you have to also look at where we're coming from. Government, in the first place, before even the Equal Opportunities Commission came into force, one of the underlying issues when they were doing the constitutional review, I think when the consultative process was going on under the Odoki Commission, you realize that one of the things they felt that was a binding constraint to socio-economic development was this lack of representation. That is why today you hear about affirmative action to bridge the gap between those who are high and those ones who are at a low status. And of course, these are things that, the Ugandans themselves felt that should come into the Constitution. Because when you look at Article 32 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, it is talking about establishment of the Equal Opportunities Commission, and then seeing that, every other person, we get rid of these imbalances. Because sometimes you find that where people are not represented, it brings in a situation of where, people are always conflicting. They are not at, maybe they may not even pay a lot of attention to some of the programs that are brought for them. For instance, I have seen the youths in so many ways. If you brought for them somebody who they don't identify with, they say, now, how can they give us a youth minister who is not a youth? They will identify and they will, quickly, get into those programs which are shaped for them. And for that matter, I think that kind of representation in some instances may matter. You have seen representation in Parliament where some people go to Parliament on affirmative action ticket, like the women are there on affirmative action ticket. You see people with disabilities. You see the youth. You see the older persons are also saying that we should have,
Everybody wants to be in parliament, even the poor, the uneducated, and you're thinking, wait a minute, do we want to have a parliament of 1,000 people? But tell me,
yes,
I do, without a doubt, see the point of this country. It's a country of variety, and so it's important that everybody gets to fit on this table. Assuming this is Uganda, everybody should be able to fit.
Somehow.
That's important. But sometimes I think that these different groupings, even though, yes, they are disadvantaged, they do not stand up to be counted. You're a young person and you want to attain a certain position of influence just because you're a youth. I'm thinking there's a problem with that. Attain that position, first of all, add value to yourself. Make sure you are hireable, you are employable, you've got the right skills. You're a woman. Don't just cry and say we want positions in cabinet or I don't know, in different government offices. No, are you qualified enough? Do you make the cut? And I think that's important. The different, religions and the different tribes and the like. Sometimes I'm thinking there's a lot more clamoring as opposed to saying, you know what, let's add value to ourselves so that we can stand up and be counted. And when we make a case, there is justifiable evidence to show that, you know what, this person is not just a Musoga who is clamoring to be in cabinet because there are not enough Basoga or whatever. I'm just using that as an example. But they're very well qualified. And for me, that's important.
It's important to everybody because, for instance, you look at the basics, like I said earlier. Do these people qualify? With all these efforts that have been put in place by government, we shall go back now to the girl child. They put the girls to have maybe the 1.5. Though somehow they say that in some universities, like Makerere University, it has gone overboard, where you find that there are more girls now in certain faculties than the boys.
Maybe it's time we revise some of that affirmative action.
Exactly.
Because girls are performing a lot better than boys. P7, O-level, A-level, and universities as well.
And all these other efforts, because that was seen as a binding constraint, that is looking out potential of others. Because you find that if all these people are brought on board, they have a contribution to make. So long as you say that they have addressed the underlying, which I agree with, the basics and what is required. The youths today are qualifying when they are young, okay? You'll find that one time I was in a certain class of university students, but you could finally see, you could hardly find rather people who are having gray hair. These people are very young. The moment they get from senior 6, they are there in their first year. They are graduating maybe sometimes when they are of, let's say, 24, 25 years. So what is the next step as far as their use? They have to be somehow, they have to get into the development process. They have to contribute to the development process. Because it's not a matter of people being there, but they want to participate in order the country to also, get to another level. Without looking at people just wanting to occupy offices, but they also have, we feel they have a contribution to make as far as socioeconomic development is concerned.
Let's talk a bit about budgeting, because some of these groupings, like the women, for example, they're talking about in the budgetary allocation process, the women need to be taken care of, and of course the youth will say the same, and everybody else will. How do we do that? Which approach does the Equal Opportunities Commission, for example, suggest?
For instance, the Equal Opportunities Commission today, we find that in the Act, in Section 14 of the Equal Opportunities Commission Act, the Equal Opportunities Commission Act is mandated to also monitor, evaluate, and ensure that plans, programs, activities, usage of public and private institutions are equal opportunity compliant. And a rider on that is that recently, in the law that has just been passed, that is the Public Finance Management Act, which was passed in 2015 and assented to by His Excellency the President of Uganda in March, is now in force and has certain sections to ensure that the women, the youth, persons with disabilities, ethnic minorities, ethnic groupings are brought on board when it comes to the sectors, the sector plans, the budget, the budgets for the various sectors, and then the national budget itself. Because in that Public Finance Management Act, there is a section to do with the issuance of the Gender and Equity Certificate. And this issuance of the Gender and Equity Certificate is done by the Minister of Finance, but after being advised by the Equal Opportunities Commission to say that this particular ministry or department or agency of government has included issues of women, has budgeted for issues of youth, has budgeted for persons with disabilities, children, and all those categorizations. And that is in section 9(6) of the Public Finance Management Act, in section 13, because this whole combination is something that is going to enable now all the people to be to look at the budgets as people-responsive budgets, and also putting emphasis on those marginalized sections of society.
Malole Zamina from the Equal Opportunities Commission, thank you for talking to us this morning.
Yeah, thank you too. Thank you for hosting me. I'm happy to be here. I'll be glad to be hosted again to talk more about issues of equal opportunities.
Without a doubt, we'll see how that goes. Coming up is my opinion.